Good morning everybody, Clark Wagaman here, Sacramento Patio by CW Designs. We're here installing a lattice patio cover today, an open trellis design on a home here in Sacramento, California. We're going to do a roof mount. It's going to be a beautiful patio with 2 fan installations. It's going to provide a ton of shade, especially in the afternoon. We're here in the morning sun, and this is the east and that's the west, so in the afternoon it's going to be really hot and the sun's going to be beaming down back here. So you'll see how much shade we actually get, which is really cool. So check it out. We're going to show you some tips and tricks on how we install these aluminum patio covers that are no maintenance pretty much. And let us know if you have anything you'd like us to check out or put out as a video for more information for you. Like and follow for more, of course. We're just here showing you the awesome additions that we're doing on people's homes. We're stretching out these areas for people. They have a new space they can relax in the afternoon or in the morning, have a cup of coffee. It's pretty awesome. All right, so we're doing a pretty cool design here today. The layout's not perfect, so we had to do some math, which hurt our brains quite a bit, but that's part of the game. So we're going to do a double rafter layout today, which is approximately a 4-foot spacing for 2 rafters, 3 inches apart from each other. And so we've spaced this all out, and we need to figure out from the first post to the last post equidistant spacing throughout the patio cover so it's nice and symmetrical, and that's what we just did. Now I'm going to mark those 2 brackets from center. So it's not going to be dead center on our mark. The brackets are going to have a 3-inch space and the brackets are 2 inches wide. So I need to space out from my mark 1.5 inches and another 1 inch for the center of the rafter, 2.5 total. So that's a 5-inch space. I'll put my brackets right on that mark, and then it'll leave a 3-inch space in between the rafters. I'll show you here exactly what I'm talking about when I mark this one. I've got my mark center on the double rafter. In other words, that's in the middle of the double rafters. I need to now mark where my rafter brackets go for those double rafters. That's what I was getting at here. So I'm going to hold my speed square on the 3-inch mark of the center, and I'm going to move over 2.5 right and 2.5 left, and that's where I'm going to center my brackets. So I'll go 2.5 this way, 2.5 this way, and now I'll put 2 more marks, 1, 2, and my brackets will go on those marks. This is my center 3-inch space between the rafters and the brackets. You'll see what it looks like when we're done. It's pretty sweet. It's a nice design. Okay guys, we're gonna mark our ledgers off of our beam to make it easier. Rather than measure everything twice, once you have the beam laid out, which we have our beam rafter laid out, we're gonna install our posts, I didn't mention, 1 foot in on either side of a 24-foot beam, and then we spaced all the rafters out about 4 feet apart. They ended up being wider than 4 feet, but equidistant from the first foot to the 23rd foot on a 24-foot beam with a 1 foot overhang on both sides, a little over 4 foot between the rafters all the way through symmetrically. And now we're laying the ledgers. There's a split ledger design, 2 different length rafters. You'll see as after we start to build this and frame it up. One of the ledgers is laid on top of the beam, and then he can mark the rafter marks from the beam to the ledger, just transpose it from one to the other rather than remeasure everything. It makes it way easier. Okay, we're going to show you again how to do the bracket install. It's super easy. We have steel inserts on this patio cover to make the post a little stronger. So we've already sleeved the cloverleaf steel post into the embossed wrapping, and we'll show you the cloverleaf steel here in just a second. But this is the bracket that's installed on the steel posts. They've already sleeved and slid this into the steel posts, okay, and then drilled their hole for their 3/8 inch lags in through the bracket here. And you can get a shot from the top here showing, we'll show the 4 screws that go in to hold the bracket in place right here on both sides, so one side and the other side. And so our posts are all prepped to be installed once we start framing. What we're showing here is these are some of our rafters, and the rafters are going to go up before our lattice tubes. The lattice tubes are 2-inch tubes, and so we're going to want to draw, if you remember, to draw the lines for your lattice tubes before you install the lattice rafters. Then the lines are already there. You'd rather do this on the ground than up on a ladder and prevent getting up and down the ladder a bunch of times. So we'll do that down here. We've already lined these rafters every 4 inches for a 2-inch space on a 2-inch tube for 50% shade. So we'll run our tape measure, we'll mark every 4 inches all the way down the rafter, and then we'll take a speed square and line that up to the mark, and then we can run lines across multiple rafters on each mark. As long as they're lined up at the end here, flush, then those lines will be consistent once we install the patio. And we'll just put the shade bar tubes in line with these lines and screw them in so that we can easily install the lattice quickly and efficiently, rather than getting up and down and making multiple marks and pencil lines everywhere and having to run your tape measure up in the air and drop it and get down and pick it up. Okay, we're putting the ledger up. The first ledger, we have 2 ledgers, one back here, one in the front here, front, back side. Either way, there's 2 ledgers because there's 2 projections on this cover. The first one's going up right now. It's all lined up so that our post ends up where we want it to be out here. We've already squared off of the house. We know that we need the ledger to start 5 inches over from that corner of the house over there so that our post is on the concrete with a 1-foot overhang. We're mounting the ledger with 14 by 1.5 inch SMS screws to the back of the bracket in through the wood-filled aluminum ledger for the patio cover. Normally the brackets for the rafters would be on the face of the ledger. In this case, we decided to mount the rafters on top of the ledger to give us about 6.5 inches more space above our heads. When the patio's built, the house is low, like I said, and we want it to be about 9'6". So we decided to go on top of the ledger to give us more space. They're gonna have 2 fans in here. We wanna have plenty of space for the fans. And so we've got the brackets on top of the ledger instead of the face of the ledger this time. So another unique, it's like a uniqueness to this patio design that's not typical. But there's so many ways you can do this, really. Once you get to know all the parts, you can design anything you want to fit just about any situation and make it just blend in really nicely. Okay, we got our first post cut and leveled. What we did is we snapped a level line from the installed ledger perpendicular to the first post. So we've got a line snapped from the top of that ledger out to our post minus the beam and bracket, which is 8¼ inches. And we've cut that post so that this will be level structure from the post back to the ledger. Once we flip this over with the post installed, we're going to level back to the second post. Then we can cut and install that post. We'll have a nice level beam ready for all the rafters to be installed for the next step. Okay, man, we're going to level out this beam for our second post. We've got 1 post installed. We're holding up the beam. We're going to run a 4-foot level on the beam to level the other post and mark it. We'll pull everything down, cut the post, mount the post, then we'll be totally ready to frame this up with the rafters next. All right, we're going to frame up the first section, which is the longest section of the 2 parts. One is 22 feet, the other is about 10 or 10.5. These are 22.5-foot rafters, and we want our beam to be at 21, so that will give this patio a 1.5-foot overhang. So I've gone ahead and marked a 21-foot mark on the bottom of one rafter on the inside. This would be the right side rafter looking back at the cover of the house. And then a bottom mark on the outside or inside, or the opposite side, I should say. Also the inside, so you won't see it, at 21 feet on the left end rafter. So when we put these 2 rafters up, we're just going to line this mark at 21 on both rafters directly over the seam of the beam, and we can tag this into the rafter bracket to align the beam to the first section. Easy. All right, gang, so we've got us all framed up today. Our structure's ready to go. We're gonna call it a day. Tomorrow we're gonna put our post wraps on. The posts, it's a 3-piece system. 1 post is up. We got 2 more parts to go on that post system. The lattice 2x2s to go over the top for all the shade bars. A couple fans to install. And that's pretty much it. We're almost there. It's a good start. We've got it all framed up, ledgers up, beams up, posts up, rafters in, ready to tube out and put the post wraps. That's it. Okay, we're getting ready to install a few of our lattice tubes, or start installing the lattice on the top of the patio cover. We've already got the 4-inch lines on the rafters that we talked about. These are 2-inch tubes. So once we line the 2-inch tube up to the 4-inch space up there, we'll have a 2-inch tube with a 2-inch space for a 50% shade on the patio cover. I already measured the distance from the edge of the left edge of the ledger where I want to distance this lattice from. I'm going to take a measurement from the edge of the ledger to the first rafter so I can line these tubes up to the patio cover. I measured it at 9.5 inches, so I'm going to put a mark on this tube. And this is how we mark the tube so you don't see it after you install it. We're going to line this up to the center of the rafter on top, and there's a seam up there, so I'm going to line the mark up to a seam. And again, when you look up there, you won't see these little pencil marks. Very specific way to do this. I'm going to put some tubes in front of myself. You can do it up on top of your patio cover or here on the sawhorses. I've only got 2. You can do as many as you like. The first thing I do is I'll take the tubes I want to mark and I'll rotate them seam up. And then as I'm facing, the direction I'm facing is the same direction as if you were facing the house, and you're going to mount this on top of the lattice patio. So this is as if you're facing the house that the patio is attached to. I'm going to rotate these one time after seam up. Okay, I've rotated them once. Now I'm going to run my tape measure out and I'm going to mark 9.5 inches on the bottom edge that I'm now facing after rolling these once away from myself after seam up. So seam up, one turn away, and the mark goes about a 1/4 inch mark on the bottom edge of the tube as I'm facing it, 9.5 inches. Those 2 are marked. I'm ready to start installing these lattice tubes. If I wanted to put them all up, I would mark multiple lattice tubes at the same time and go ahead and start that. Okay, so while the guys are installing the lattice tube bars on top of the patio cover, I'm going to install a couple of drop shades for the customer. And they're pretty easy to do. We like to use sheet metal screws. We don't really use any of the hardware that the kit comes with. I'm using 10x1 sheet metal screws here. You can use a 10x5/8 sheet metal screw. Anything that'll hold through this metal. This is pretty thick metal, so I've never seen any come down using sheet metal screws. They're really strong. So I'm going to show you how we install the drop shades. Just going to install each bracket and measure out the roller. So we'll show you how to do that right now. All right, I've installed my first bracket here, 1 inch up from the bottom of the beam. There's no reason that that won't work in this case. Depending on your situation, you may need to align this bracket somewhere else. In this case, we have the full beam to work with. I've just left 1 inch at the bottom of the beam so that when we retract the shade, the bottom bar of the shade will be hidden right here at the bottom of the beam. It's not too high, so they'll get full shade when they roll it down to the ground. So again, 1 inch from the bottom of the beam, and then I've installed it 2.5 inches from the side of the post because we haven't installed our post wraps yet. And our post wrap will stick out not quite 2 inches from this post, so I'm leaving about a 1/2 inch reveal from the outside edge of this bracket to the edge of our post wrap, which you'll see when we finish. Okay, so I'm not following the directions that came with the roller shade because we're installing this on an aluminum patio cover. All I do is I always just go ahead and measure the length of the shade from tube to tube end, and in this case it's a 10-foot shade. It comes out to about 10.25 plus. So I'm going to space these inside the brackets are out from inside to inside a little over 10.25 inch, and it should fit nice and snug. All right, so now I have my brackets installed. I'm just going to slide one end of the shade in, and then the other end pops in on the male end. Very easy. If you've measured it right, it snaps right in. All right, the guys are putting up the last tubes on this patio cover. We're almost finished. We have to install 2 fans, wire the fans, finish these lattice tubes, and it'll be all finished and ready for the customer to enjoy completely. This thing is beautiful. Reach out to us with any questions that you might have. We love to design patio covers for people. It makes a humongous difference in the backyard. Have a look at this beauty. Enjoy. Okay guys, we're all done here. We're wrapped it up. We've got a beautiful lattice patio cover, single beam, double rafter, 2 fans, roof mounted. 2 beams. We hung some shades on it today. It looks awesome. It's providing a beautiful shade space out here. It expands their living area. And man, this is such a huge difference. We've got tables and chairs, reclining sofas. We can relax out here. Lots of space now that they can hang out and relax. This is beautiful. This is a nice install. If you have any questions about any of our installations, let us know, or comments. We'd like to go over things that you would be interested in seeing. We covered how we installed this, how we laid out the beam, how we built the post kits. So any little details that we're not covering, let us know so we can cover those for you. We want to show you how to build these. We want to help you out, so let us know. Clark Wagaman, Sacramento Patio by CW Designs. We're out here in California, but we can help you just about anywhere, so let us know. Thanks so much.